What's going on, everybody? Happy Friday. It's me, and I am back for another episode of Stoppage Time with you. That little bit of extra time between the end of your Friday and your weekend. Hope you've had a terrific week. It's Friday, September 27th, I think. Holy cow, this month has flown by. But I am here, as always, on Fridays to spend a little bit of time with you and to just offload, share a lot of the things that have been on my mind this week, just to maybe give you a little bit of context and color commentary around the way that I see the world. But this week I'm kind of picking up on where we left off from last week's appreciation of people. And I've got some specific notes because I'm going to do something a little bit different today with y'all on this episode of Stoppage Time to try and deliver some more very specific value into your life, professionally and personally. So you're going to see me glance over here at the screen a little bit more often than usual, just because I want to make sure I convey the notes in the way that I've written them originally, because this is part of a presentation that I'm going to share, which is a presentation I've given a handful of times to different organizations around the entrepreneurial economies of Latin America and the US over the last handful of years. So here's the scoop. What I want to do is I want to talk to you about how we build professional relationships. And fundamentally, all of you believe, the vast majority of people believe, that the only way or the way that you build professional relationships is network, right? And the practical reality is that over my 36-year career, I can't imagine that I have met anybody who loved networking. The very name, the word even to me just sounds like, right? It elicits this kind of uncomfortable feeling, this kind of dread, this kind of hatred, this kind of just bad vibes, right? When you think about the fact that I have to network, and it's always a have to, right? It's never like I want to, or, I get the opportunity to. It's always a have to. When ironically, the reality is that on the other side of this thing that the world has called networking, which again, just sounds like an extra job that you're supposed to do like after hours, is what we all want, which are relationships with interesting, smart, talented, capable people. In the context of business, sometimes we want those people to also be decision makers or investors, people that can buy our products, people who we can sell our services to, people we can build strategic alliances with or co-invest with, right? So we want the relationships that exist on the other side of the work, but none of us want to do the work. And so that's what I'm here to share with you today. A while back, I developed a really simple series of kind of 4-step models around 3 key big questions that we ask ourselves in how do we develop relationships, how do we build those relationships over time, how do we nurture them, and then where do we build those relationships as well. So I'm going to jump into that. I'm going to share this with you. My hope is that you end today's stoppage time not only in a good mood and excited heading into your weekend, but maybe with some little tips and tools that you can use next week and going forward in your business life or in your day-to-day life to just kind of make the building of new relationships in your day-to-day a little less stressful, a little bit more joyful. So let's go ahead and cut to the lessons. So bear with me, here we go. All right, so 3 big questions and then 4 simple steps each. So let me hit you with the 3 big questions and I'll go back to the first one and give you the first set of steps. So the first question, how can someone effectively filter which events? How can you filter which events you choose to attend to maximize your relationship building opportunities? That's your first question. Second question, what are the best practices for following up after your events or after meeting people to foster deeper connection, deeper relationships? And then third and final question, and we'll go back to the top here, is how can social media be leveraged to build genuine relationships rather than just kind of passing transactional connections or chasing followers? So let me go back to the top. First question, how can someone effectively filter how to attend events and which events to attend, right? Because the typical networking kind of DNA approach is just go to everything, right? Go everywhere you could possibly go. Overschedule yourself. Literally like grind yourself into the end of time, and so that at the end of a week you wake up and you're like, oh my God, I'm miserable, right? That's the wrong approach. So let me give you 4 kind of simple steps that I believe can help you to more effectively maybe filter which events you attend and why. So first things first, and this is my rule. This is how I apply this to my professional relationship building. First things first. First rule, first step, the event is being hosted by a friend. and I am going to this event to support that friend. Now, in my life at this stage of my career, that is almost every event. Like, I basically don't go to an event pretty much unless it hits this filter, like 90+% of the time. So first simple step you can take in mind. Focus on going to events that are hosted by friends and go with the intention to be supportive of that friend. Second step, knowing in advance that other friends of mine will be at that event, right? So I'm gonna go because there is an opportunity for me to spend quality time with the people that I already know and deepen that relationship. In today's truncated stoppage time format, I'm not going to hit you with all the kind of anecdotal examples of this, but I've got some great stories that illustrate this. If you ever want to know, you can call me, DM me, message me, and ask me, and I'll happily tell you the different stories that kind of exemplify this. But so again, second step, I'm going to an event because I know that friends of mine will be at the event, and I'm going because that now is an opportunity for me to spend more quality time with that friend and deepen that relationship. Third thing, there is something specific or someone specific who I've not met, who I want to meet, who I know will be at that event alongside my friends. And so I attend that event to target or meet that person through my friends, right? So first things first, the event is being hosted by a friend. I'm going to be supportive of my friend. Second step in this process, friends of mine are going to be at the event, and I'm taking this advantage of this opportunity to go ahead and spend more quality time with my friends, deepen those relationships in a common, shared, like-minded environment, right? Third thing, there's someone who I don't know who's at that event, but I know that they are there. I know that they're going to be around my friends, and I'm going to go to target create an opportunity to meet that person through the friends that I already have that are at that event. And then the fourth one, there might be, and this is very rare for me nowadays, there might be some very specific piece of content that I want to hear that I would never be able to access online or in any other format in any other way. That happens so infrequently nowadays because almost every event, every piece of content, every speech, every podcast interview, every TED Talk, every keynote address is streamed, it's shared, it's clipped, it's put into social media posts from that speaker, from that event, from that host, right? So there are a million ways to consume that content nowadays without spending a lot of money and a lot of your time traveling, going far away, spending a lot of time away from your home or your family to try and go there for the content, right? I think that's the last reason you should go to an event. So there's the 4 quick tips on the first question. Second question, what are the best practices for following up after an event to foster deeper connections? So 4 steps. 1, do your follow-ups that night before you go to bed. So literally, you're at an event, you meet the people that you meet, you begin to open these conversations with them. Like, don't put it off to tomorrow. Don't say like, oh, I've got this stack of business cards, or nowadays, like I've got this stack of contacts in my LinkedIn on my phone or in my phone contact database, however you connected with people digitally in today's world. Like, oh, I'll deal with that tomorrow. Or, I'm going to do all those follow-ups on Monday a week from now. Nope, that's bullshit. Do your follow-ups, personalized follow-ups to those people that night before you go to bed. I don't care if you get home from the event at 1 a.m, like do those follow-ups because by doing that, you literally set yourself apart from 95% of your peers, because 95% of people will not make that effort, right? So now you're just sheerly setting yourself apart based on effort, which is the greatest thing of all time, right? Is to just win by purely out hustling everybody else, right? So second example, send a simple thank you, text, email, LinkedIn message, DM, whatever it was, right? However they connected with you, you connect with them. So if when you met, you guys exchange LinkedIn contacts because of the cool QR code that they have, great. Then DM them on LinkedIn, right? If you exchange phone numbers, then text them. If you exchange some other social media platform, that's great. If they gave you your email, email them, right? Like whatever medium it is that the connection, the relationship was opened up on, that's where you follow up, right? And so you're gonna do a simple thank you, just literally thank you. Thank you for the chance to meet. Thank you for the chance to hear your story, whatever it might be, right? Simple, about them, but acknowledging that you spent time with them. And you're doing that when? That night before you go to bed. Third thing, in the coming days, follow up with those who reply right? Obviously, those are the people that are most interested in building a mutually beneficial relationship. And invite those people to a coffee if you're in the same city, or to a virtual coffee if you're not, right? So don't be shy. Don't think, oh, I can only meet people when I'm in person. That's nonsense. It's 2024, right? We live in a digitally capable, accessible world, right? So follow up in the coming days with those people first who reply. Invite a coffee or a virtual coffee or an in-person meeting. And your purpose in that next follow-up, in that next visit with them, is to hear their story. I want to hear your story. I can't wait for us to talk to. I can hear your story. I want to learn about you. I want to hear about what you're working on. Always make it about them, right? There will be plenty of opportunities for you to share your stories and tell your story and share what you're working on, or even what your ask might be, right? But always make it about them. Last thing, 1 week later after the event, you're going to send your more formal follow-up messages, emails, or other media, again, however you connected. And that one's going to include a link to you, about your company, and reminding them that you met them at X event. So this might be the group of people who never replied, who didn't follow up with you. You're now a courtesy 7 days later, and then you're going to continue this every 7 days until people basically tell you to F off and stop following up with them. So third big question. How can social media be leveraged to build genuine relationships rather than just chasing followers or cheap connections? So this one's obviously a big one in today's world, right? This was not something I had to worry about 25, 30 years ago when I began my career. But first things first, tell an authentic story. People want to know you and your brand story. They want to understand your why. Like first and foremost, on social media, when you're on social media, you better be an authentic version of yourself. If you are faking, if you even remotely feel like you are faking your persona on social media, stop doing social media, right? Because it's not gonna reap the fruits over the long haul of the types of real meaningful relationships that you want. So again, tell an authentic story. People want to know you and your brand story. If you're not sure what your authentic story is, talk to the 6 to 8 people that you're closest to in your family and your friend circles or professional people, and ask them to tell you who they think you are. And I'll tell you that 9 times out of 10, those people are going to nail exactly who you are to the outside world, and then just tell that version of the story. Second thing, do not chase followers. Build relationships. Take every opportunity to connect with people online to build a relationship. So you're going to go back and you're going to apply some of the same principles shared in the prior 2 questions, right? You're going to develop rapport. You're going to share stories. You're going to inquire about stories about them. You're going to make it more about them. As my dad used to say, we've got 2 ears and 1 mouth because we should listen twice as much as we talk. So don't chase followers. Build real meaningful relationships. Reply and engage as yourself. Be grateful, be thankful, be engaging with positive commentary, and be polite but concise with negative. You should avoid negative commentary and negative feedback and negative engagement online in general. It's just not worth it. But if you do go down that path, be concise, be factual, and then get in and get out. But my point, really my encouragement is just reply and engage as yourself. And if you are not a grateful, thankful, engaging, positive person, then again, you should maybe rethink the use of these tools. Finally, fourth is be consistent in producing content and engagement, right? So be consistent in how you produce the content that you produce and what you talk about and what you share, and then be consistent in your engagement. If people reply and engage with you on social media, reply and engage with them, engage them in conversations. So those are your 3 big questions. Those are 4 simple steps for each of the big questions. It'll be here in the show notes, so you can copy and paste this stuff if you want to. You can DM us and we'll get you a copy of the presentation that we've used in the past and you can apply it. I'm happy to talk to anybody about this kind of stuff. As with all advice in business and in life, you should take this in, you should personalize it to your own experiences, to your own personality, and to your own energy. I've just shared with you what has worked for me for like 20 years. But I spent the first half of my career, like the first 10 to 15-ish years, hacking away at networking, stacking my briefcase or my pockets full of business cards, being terribly average at the follow-up. And I didn't really learn until about halfway into my career some of these tips that helped me to unleash just a completely different version of myself. And frankly, just embrace events and relationship building and put away this notion that I was being forced to go out there and network. So now, it wouldn't be stoppage time if I didn't tie this back to a recent episode. So I'm going to quickly highlight one of the recent shows we just did with my friend Mickey Reynolds from Slauson & Co. And I'm going to highlight this episode not only because Mickey and I talked about the value of human relationships and the value of relationships that we have with each other and that we have with people in our community here in Los Angeles, but literally because the & Co, part of Slauson & Co, the investment firm, that's referencing a phrase called the company you keep or the company we keep, right? And ultimately all of what we're talking about is being intentional, being selective, being positive, being loving first, in choosing the company that we keep. So when you're out networking and you're just trying to kind of make connections and build transactions or build followers on social media, you're not being intentional about the company you keep. And Mickey's conversation with me, which you can find on our YouTube channel or you can find anywhere you listen to your favorite podcast, it's out now, or you can see on our social media content at Entrepreneurial Thinkers, is just a great testament to the value of building real meaningful relationships. Finally, a book recommendation for y'all. And it's again in the spirit of last week and this week where I talked about people and I talk about relationships. There's an incredible book that I'm listening to right now, which was recommended to me by a friend, by an alumnus of our show at Entrepreneurial Thinkers, Peter Abraham, and it's called Range: Why Generalists Triumph in a Specialized World. I'm only about halfway through it on my walks, but I can tell you it's already proven its point to me many times over, and it's already been well worth the purchase on my Audible account. So it's a New York Times bestseller. It's written by an author named David Epstein. We'll put the link in the show notes again, so you can go ahead and you can find it there and buy it if you don't already have it. But one of the reviews here literally says it's urgent and important. It is an essential read for bosses, parents, coaches, and anyone who cares about improving the performance of the people in their lives. So to me, this is fundamentally, again, about people. And it's about this notion that maybe in this hyper-specialized world, the truth is the most effective, valuable thing you can be is to be a wide-ranging generalist. And that's kind of validation for what I'm arguing here in this sharing of this little presentation and these tips with you, is that everybody can try and be that super specialized networker, right? But very few people are going to try and be well-rounded, long-term, patient, thoughtful, empathetic, open-minded, listening relationship builders. And so that's your opportunity. You want to get to the great relationships on the other side of all the networking. So let's just skip the networking bullshit and help you get to the other side of that bridge so you can just start on the positive, enjoyable part of this process, which is building meaningful and then sustaining and nurturing meaningful relationships throughout the course of your career or the course of your life. So that's it. That's Stoppage Time. I hope you have an awesome weekend. It's almost October, which is insane to me, and I will see you right back here next Friday.